In this video, I'm going to show you how to solve the ALEKS problem called finding mass or volume from percent concentration. There are two different variations of this problem, but I am going to walk through the process of solving both different versions of the problem. So no matter which version of the problem you have, you should start by taking a look at the percent concentration of your solution. I'm going to rewrite mine down here. 0.90% W/V, which stands for weight volume. That number, we want to rewrite that as a conversion factor. The 0.9% we can rewrite as 0.9 grams, that's the weight part, per 100 milliliters. That is the volume part. So this is what that represents. And more specifically, the 0.9 grams, or whatever the grams are, that represents the grams of solute in the solution, and the milliliter, the 100 milliliters, that represents the solvent, or excuse me, the solution. So first thing that you should do is take your percent concentration and convert it into a fraction that looks like this that you're going to be able to use as a unit conversion factor. And we can get even more specific if we want, because ALEKS does tell us exactly what the solute is, so we could kind of make a note. For mine, the solute is NaCl. So once we have this set up, no matter which version of the problem you're looking at, you are going to want to set this conversion factor up. Then we are ready to actually tackle the problem. So the next piece of information that we want to focus on is the information that ALEKS is providing to us. Like, there's a lot of story in here, but what we really want to focus on is the number and the unit that ALEKS is being providing us with. For mine, it is 800 milligrams of NaCl. And the next thing that we want to think about is, what is ALEKS asking us to figure out in this problem? So for me, it wants me to figure out what the volume is. So the volume of the solution, be even more specific, the milliliters of the solution. So I am starting with a mass of NaCl, and I'm being asked to convert it into a milliliter of solution. You could be looking at a problem in the other direction. So maybe for your problem, it's telling you a particular volume of a solution, and it's asking you to convert that or calculate how many grams of a solute might be present. These are the two different variations of the problem. So we're going to walk through this process first. In this case, we are being given 800 milligrams of our NaCl. And what we want to do is multiply this by a conversion factor that gets rid of units of milligrams. Ideally, we'd like to be able to convert straight into milliliters, but our conversion factor doesn't allow for that. Our conversion factor is a relationship between grams and milliliters, and we are currently in units of milligrams. So our first thing to tackle is getting those units converted. Milli is the prefix for 10 to the minus 3, so 1 milligram is 10 to the minus 3 grams, and in that step, we're going to get those milligram units canceled. And now we are ready to move on, and we want to set up our next conversion factor where we can go from grams into milliliters. That's what the problem is asking us to do. This relationship right here is the relationship that we set up from the weight volume percent. Now we do have to be a little bit careful. Notice the way that I need to use this conversion factor, and I need to use it this way so that my gram units cancel. The way that I need this conversion factor, I have milliliters on top, grams on the bottom, and take a look at the conversion factor. The way that it's written, I've got grams on the top and milliliters on the bottom. Remember that with all conversion factors, we can invert them as needed. So we can just flip-flop this thing. 100 milliliters of solution per 0.9 grams of solute, NaCl solute. So in this format, my milliliters are on top, my grams are on the bottom. This is going to work for the particular version of the problem that I'm being asked to solve. It's going to look like that. And then we are just going to work the math out on this with our calculator. We have 800 times 10 to the minus 3 times 100 divided by 0.9. Assuming that I got everything punched into my calculator correctly, I get 89 milliliters of the solution. And in the answer box here, it tells us that we need to make sure that we have a unit symbol. That's going to be milliliters. We don't need to say milliliters of solution. We need to say milliliter, just milliliters. And it also is saying that we need it to be rounded to the correct number of sig figs. For me, that looks like it's going to be just 2 sig figs because I've got the 0.90, which is 2 sig figs. So this is version of the problem number 1, where we're starting with a mass and being asked to convert into volume. The other version of the problem would be something like this, where we have been provided with a volume of solution and we're asked to calculate the mass of the solute in that. So here's how we would set that version up. I'm just going to kind of separate some of this stuff. Okay, so in this version of the problem, again, we want to start by writing the information that's been given to us, 800 milliliters of solution. In this version of the problem, ALEKS is going to be asking you to calculate a mass of the solute. So we want to set up a conversion factor that has milliliters on the bottom so that they're going to cancel, and mass on top. And again, we're using this conversion factor that we built from the weight volume percent information. In this case, it's set up the same way that we had originally written it out, 0.9 over 100. Those milliliter units are going to cancel. And I am going to get 800 times 0.9 divided by 100 is 7.2 grams. Again, I would want 2 sig figs, and the unit that I would need to include is grams, not grams of NaCl, but just grams.